Hi, hello, and welcome back to Bioenergetics with me, Devaraj. And today I'm going to talk about the word charge because I often get questions, people saying to me, I've read about charge in bioenergetics. I'm interested in breath work. I'm interested in bio. I'm interested in this kind of therapy. And people often say this word charge. What does it mean? Good question. So let's take a look at this. I think we could start by just looking at the kind of colloquial usages of the word charge because they're kind of related, and so I guess we might say, we could talk about someone charging towards something, charging towards a goal, a lot of energy and going in one direction, probably not thinking too much about where he's going. We might talk about, linebackers charging some guy down. I don't know much about American football, but in rugby in the UK, certainly you get people charging someone down, this idea of getting ahead of energy and moving in one direction. Another common usage of the word charge, we could talk about, you might say an electrical system is charged, it's got a voltage above ground, above the earth, it's got a potential. Might also say I've been down the shop, I got charged, got overcharged. I got charged 50p for this tomato, whatever, it's like the idea of paying something, giving something. Those are kind of colloquial day-to-day usages of the word charge. If we think about, say, more popular psychology, then we come up to an interesting usage of the word charge. We might say, watch out for, maybe you might be having some office job somewhere and you say, watch out for Steve today, he's really charged. Which could mean that this guy's wandering around the office and he's got a big kind of energy and he's just looking for someone to dump this negative charge on. He's gonna pick, maybe he's a boss or something. He's gonna find some underling who's made a mistake and he's gonna hammer them with a big charge. The idea is he's kind of come into work with a big energy inside of him and he's looking for a way to just discharge that on some other poor soul. Likewise, when I worked in construction many years ago, often there seemed to be quite a strict hierarchy of dumping going on. The boss would come in a bad mood and he'd dump on the subcontractor who'd find someone to dump on, and somewhere at the bottom of the chain there'd be a little labourer somewhere who really took the whole pile of shit. Not particularly a good way of doing things, but I could understand the principle, hurling the charge downwards. Okay, so those are some usages in day-to-day and a little bit crossover psychology where, ways of using the word charge. Now let's come back into real Reichian kind of usage of the word charge because it's useful to understand it in the everyday context as well. And it's subtly different as I see it. There are two basic ways that we use the word charge in body-based therapy. The first one is when we're referring to something that's stuck in the body. It's like, if you're familiar with polyvagal theory, Stephen Porges, or the work of Peter Levine, Waking the Tiger, you're familiar with this idea that essentially what happens in a traumatic situation is at some point we kind of freeze. Our adrenal system is pumping and then it's like, we just kind of freeze and enter it. It's like an evolutionary adaptation that primates have to deal with certain kinds of threat situations. But the problem is when you freeze, this energy that's pumping becomes bound into your muscle system. And so this is a core theory, these days of how trauma occurs, because then subsequently our higher mind blocks us from discharging that energy. And so the word charge is sometimes used in this context to refer to someone who's got energy stuck in their system. Basically, this we talked earlier about this guy Steve at the office. He's got it stuck in his system, but he can discharge it by finding someone to dump shit on, basically. But we may be carrying around a charge from the past, from a long way in the past, that's kind of become dormant within us, but it's still there as a kind of block in our unconscious. So that's one usage in the Reichian kind of field, or in breath work, or in bioenergetics of use charge. The second is a more positive kind of usage, and essentially, we often speak about charging the body with energy, particularly using like breath work practices where you change the frequency or you change the type of breathing, also in shamanic work, to bring more energy into the body, almost to get it to kind of vibrate. You're pumping your energy up. And one of the reasons why you do this is because, one, you can become aware when you pump your energy up where it is blocked. where it is blocked, where the stuck charge is. We're pumping up the energy, creating a healthy charge, and we become aware of where the stuckness is in the system. And two, because when we stop pumping it up, we can discharge, and maybe with that discharge, some of that stuck energy comes out as well. So for example, you might be going to do a shamanic breathwork class, and the teacher might get you to do something called the breath of fire, which is traditionally like too sharp. I think it came from Frank Natalia originally, who probably got it out of South America. If you look historically, I think Frank brought a lot of trance dance to the West, but no longer with us. But he did some of that. And if you carry on doing this, standing up, moving around for like 20, 30 minutes, you will feel your body starting to pulse, starting to vibrate. Maybe a tingling sensation will come into parts of your body, maybe all over the body. And then if you should dance or lie down or let your body move, maybe there's a sense of discharging, and it's taking out another layer of stuck energy inside of you. Similarly, if you were to do rebirthing or holotropic breath work or any of these kind of breath work systems, where a lot of them are developed from Reich originally, a chap called Leonard Orr in America, in the 60s, coined the term rebirthing, but really we're all piggybacking on Reich in the West, who developed this idea, of charging the body with breath. You lie down and you simply breathe more deeply in and out, sometimes in a circular fashion, which means you don't have a gap between the in-breath and the out-breath. You focus on your breath and you pump it up for 15, 30 minutes, maybe even longer in holotropic breath work, which was created sometime around the 70s by a bloke called Stan Grof. And then you allow it to discharge. So you pump it up, and then you lie back and you feel, and maybe your body moves and sensations. There's all sorts of stuff going on. So this is a way to understand this concept of charge, basically, that it's therapeutically useful sometimes to charge your body with energy and then allow it to discharge. Sometimes a slight variation on this that we might use in bioenergetics is to charge the body with energy, maybe lying down or in a certain posture, sometimes with bodily movement, maybe hip movement, and charge the body with energy, and then put the body into a different position which facilitates a certain type of discharge. So you might be lying down, pumping your pelvis up and down in a certain way, breathing quite deep down into your belly. You do that for 10, 15 minutes, and then you move your legs into a different position, and they start to vibrate, and the release starts to happen. So this is another, this is a way that we can kind of more specify, modulate to get it a bit more specific for discharge. We might want to really discharge through the legs. Okay, so we've looked at, hopefully this is covering fairly extensively the therapeutic use of the word charge, and hopefully it's given you a good understanding. I would say there's not like a real precise definition, like some fields of stuff, but it's kind of semi-precise. And it's good to understand the idea of a charge being stuck in the body, stuck in there, old energy stuck there from the past, probably early infancy, and the idea of charging the body with energy with the intention to allow some of this to release, Okay, thank you for watching. If you're interested to go on a journey with bioenergetics, then there is Bioenergetics for Journey, an online course for 52 weeks. Could take you a year, could take you a couple of years, and we will cover a lot of stuff like charging, and there'll be all sorts of exercises that you can do on your own in your room to release. You'll come out of the end of the course with an immense knowledge of bioenergetics. Check that out. Otherwise, be well. Don't get too charged up at the office and start unloading on people. It's not nice. Find a better way to release. And I will speak to you later. Thank you very much for tuning in.